shifted.
Fleming.
Here.
Gershenson.
Here.
Taub.
Here.
Hoffman.
Present.
Kola.
Here.
Kokendorfer is absent with notice. Woodward.
Here.
Quarles.
Here.
Long.
Here.
You have a quorum?
All right, let's stand up for Pledge of Allegiance. First, let's do a moment of silence for September 11th for the public safety heroes and the victims and their families. That tragic event, I cannot believe it's already 16 years ago. But let's do a moment of silence. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. My son's like, "Why?" 'Cause he's not 16.
Chris, can I just add that
Yes.
the people that have been so affected by the hurricanes?
Oh, yes.
You know,
Yes. Terrible.
And I certainly ask for your prayers. My brother is in San Juan, Puerto Rico. I was supposed to pick him up yesterday, and I haven't been able to hear from him.
Ooh.
Oh,
Sorry.
all right.
Sorry, he's okay.
Yep. That's scary. Okay, it is. All right, we'll move on to the, we need a motion for the approval of the previous minutes from August 14th and August 28th. Moved by Commissioner Fleming, supported by Commissioner Taub. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None, okay. Approval of the agenda, we need a motion to approve the agenda as presented. Moved by Commissioner Quarles and supported by Commissioner Hoffman. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, seeing none. Public comment? I think you're here for the presentation, correct? All right, seeing no public comment, we'll close that and move on to the regular agenda. First item, Department of Health and Human Services, Health Division, Amendment 1 to Oakland University REACH Grant Contract. Moved by Commissioner Taub, supported by Commissioner Fleming. Good morning, Kathy.
Good morning.
Okay.
So this REACH grant funding is federal funding that was actually awarded to Oakland University, and Oakland University in turn contracts with the Health Division and we hire a full-time public health educator out of that funding for purposes of doing initiatives in the city of Pontiac to reduce chronic disease. Some of the things that that public health educator has been doing is working on pop-up produce markets. They've been working on the non-motorized transportation plan, the smarter lunchroom strategies that they're initiating with St. Joe's and hopefully soon to be McLaren. They're working on convenience store strategies for providing healthier foods in the markets. And they're also working with Pontiac Parks and helping them to develop the master plan update so that we can, both agencies can go after grant funding to assist with the upgrades to Pontiac Parks.
Oh, good. Any questions? Commissioner Kowal.
Thank you, Chair. I just wondered how you measure the success of this program. What's your metrics?
Right. Well, so the reason why Oakland University got this grant from CDC is because it is considered to be a research grant. They're collecting data throughout all these initiatives over the years that this has been implemented, and they are working on evaluating using a number of requirements from CDC to measure the success of the program. So that's yet to be determined.
And then, I'll set Commissioner Kowal. You're good?
Yeah.
Okay. Commissioner Gershenson?
Yeah, I just want to say I've worked with some of these health educators, and they are amazing. They do amazing work, and this is fantastic that it's funded by a grant, so definitely be supporting.
Very competitive grant, too.
Oh,
We
good.
were very fortunate.
Any other questions? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call on the resolution as presented.
Gershenson,
Yes.
Taub,
Yes.
Hoffman,
Yes.
Kowal,
Yes.
Woodward,
Yes.
Quarles,
Yes.
Fleming,
Yes.
Long.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, next item, Department of Health and Human Services, Health Division, Oakland Intermediate School District, Great Parents, Great Start, and Home Visitation Grant Acceptance. We need a motion for that, moved by Commissioner Gershenson, supported by Commissioner Hoffman. All right, Kathy, you're up again.
So this grant has two different funding tracks for it. $31,500 provides funds for the purchase of educational supplies, which are greatly needed by our Nurturing Parenting Program, as well as the Nurse Family Partnership Program. Both of these programs work intensively with parents, Nurturing Parenting Programs works with parents of children 0 to age 18, and the Nurse Family Partnership Program works with parents, moms, first-time moms in their first trimester, all the way through the child's second birthday. So there's a number of things that are needed in terms of educational components. So that $31,500 pays for those educational supplies.
Okay, Commissioner
Oh,
Cobb.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I
finish.
forgot the other part of this program, which is the biggest part of the funding. $126,106 pays for a public health nurse 3, our highest level, to be added to our Nurturing Parenting Program, to add Nurse Family Partnership nurse to the south end of the county. Up till now, we have always been limited to providing those services in Pontiac, and we've always wanted to branch to other high-risk areas. So this is the beginning of that ability to be able to move our services down into communities such as Hazel Park, Madison Heights, Oak Park, Southfield. There's a couple more as well, but obviously one nurse is going to be hard pressed to fulfill all the needs down there, but this nurse will begin to be able to document the need and the utilization of that program in the South Office, which will then be utilized to go after additional funding in future years.
Okay, Commissioner Taub.
Okay, does this provide home visits as well? It does. Okay. And
Both programs are entirely home visit programs, unless the family absolutely doesn't want a nurse in the program, in the home, then they will find another location that's agreeable to the parent.
So are we doing any kind of follow-up after this is done? In other words, are we figuring out that the children, obviously the children would be better off, it's a new mother learning how to care for the child and so on. But are we doing any follow-up after the fact so that we know that we've had some success with the program?
Oh, okay.
We stay with those parents and we check in with them regularly and routinely. When we start a young mom in the Nurse Family Partnership Program, we always then stay connected with that mom, hoping that that mom will also take advantage for years to come with things like the Nurturing Parenting Program. We have 80 modules, 16 weeks each, where we go in the home at whatever age the parent is asking for assistance with or the type of assistance they're asking for, they can select the module. And this really helps parents move through the ages and stages of children, and we aren't born with manuals on how to care for children, but this is the next best thing. A nurse coming into the home and showing them firsthand how to get down on the floor and play with a child. What do you expect from the child? What's a correct way to discipline a child? And the nurse really wants to stay with that family for as long as possible to keep that dialogue going and to hear what are the current barriers they're facing with the child and moving them through a successful relationship with the family. So I'm really, we get a lot of positive feedback from the families who really stay connected with us for many, many years. And we do, through the Nurse Family, I'm sorry, these two programs drive me crazy. Nurse Family Partnership and Nurturing Parenting Program. So Nurse Family Partnership Program is an evidence-based program, they both are, but this one collects mountains of information, and we follow it through the years, and so does the National Office for Nurse Family Partnership in Denver, and we do see huge successes, big changes in behaviors, even from the mother and the child. There's tremendous evidence of success from the information we're collecting. We spend a lot of time inputting data about these moms we're serving, and out of that we're finding tremendous successes.
How do you find these moms? How do you get referrals?
Well, when Nurse Family Partnership was only in Pontiac, mostly word of mouth, and same goes for the Nurturing Parenting Program. One family finds it to be so successful, they tell about another, and they tell another, and they tell another. We also advertise, and also Michigan Department of Health and Human Services makes a tremendous number of referrals to us as well. The Nurturing Parenting Program is an evidence-based child abuse and neglect program, so that's how it is. MDHHS contracted with us initially to get that training and that education amongst our nurses so that that could be provided in the community, because it is a successful program to prevent child abuse and neglect. So if they have a high-risk family, they will refer them to us automatically for that program.
Many years ago, there was a program out of our obstetrical wards that gave referrals to Early Start or whatever, the thing over at ISD.
Yeah.
Okay.
Was that Head Start?
No, not Head Start.
No, not Head Start.
Great Start Collaborative?
Start.
Yeah.
Is there any possibility, because usually obstetrical nurses they know when there might be some family difficulties, and sadly enough, we cut, in the old days, quote unquote, when many of us were born, the mother spent several days in the hospital.
Right.
And that gave the nurses opportunities to teach a mother how to bathe the baby, how to diaper a baby. Now that stuff doesn't exist anymore. They're in and out within 24 hours.
Well, we go into all the hospitals that have obstetrics. We have a very good relationship in those departments. And even though they're not spending a lot of time with those moms, although we're seeing a trend that they're spending more time than they were, they are making referrals to us.
Good. That's perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much, Kathy. Thank you, Madam.
Next, I have Commissioner Woodward, then Commissioner Quarles.
Pass.
Oh, okay, Commissioner Quarles.
Thank you. I certainly think this is a great program. I'm just wondering, with some of the newborns, as we all know, they don't go home with their mother. Is the service available to grandparents and aunts?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, we work with a lot of grandparents in both programs.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? All right, seeing none, we'll do roll call on the resolution as presented.
Taub,
Yes.
Hoffman,
Yes.
Kowal,
Yes.
Woodward,
Yes.
Quarles,
Yes.
Fleming,
Yes.
Gershenson,
Yes.
Long.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, next item, Department of Health and Human Services Health Division, interlocal agreement with the Oakland Community Health Network for Substance Use Disorder Prevention Services. We need a motion for that. Moved by Commissioner Gershenson, supported by Commissioner Fleming. Okay, Kathy, want to explain this one?
Yes, this interlocal agreement with
Interlock.
OCHN is for prevention
That's going
services
to.
for substance abuse. And it pays for 2 full-time health educator positions. And just to let you know, the types of services they're providing
Drives me insane.
is the Botfin Life Skills Training Parent Program, helping parents strengthen communication with their children. The Botfin Life Skills Training Transition Program, which helps young adults transition into the workforce or higher education. Botfin Life Skills Training Elementary and Middle School, starting to teach them about risky behaviors and help them make good decisions as they are maybe being subjected to peer pressure for risky behaviors. The Safe Dates program, which is the only evidence-based curriculum that prevents dating abuse. The Photo Voice Project, I'm not sure if you've heard of that before, but it's a community-based participatory program where the question might be asked, what makes you feel safe or what makes you not feel safe? And then they have cameras and they take pictures in their community about those 2 questions. And then they bring the pictures back, and then it drives discussion around those things that are making them feel safe. Sometimes it's hard to get a child to engage in a dialogue, but when they go out and take pictures of things around them, come back, it helps to generate good discussion. So it's been very successful. And then the WITS program, which stands for Walk Away, Ignore It, Talk It Out, and Seek Help. We provide children, school staff, and parents with developmentally appropriate conflict resolution strategies. So those are the main programs that these 2 health educators are really working in the community to get these into schools, and they work year-round on this, which is why all of these programs aren't just school-based, but they are occurring outside of schools as well.
Good, sound good. Any questions? All right, seeing none, we'll do roll call on the resolution as presented.
Hoffman,
Yes.
Kowal,
Yes.
Woodward,
Yes.
Quarles,
Yes.
Fleming,
Yes.
Gershenson,
Yes.
Taub,
Yes,
Long.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, thank
Thank
you,
you.
Kathy. Next one's Department of Health and Human Services Children's Village 2017-18 National School Lunch Program Grant Acceptance. We need a motion for that, moved by Commissioner Fleming, supported by Commissioner Quarles. All right, good morning.
Morning. This is a meal reimbursement program for youth at Children's Village who are placed in residential treatment and detention programs. It's offered by the United States Department of Agriculture and administered by the Michigan Department of Education. The reimbursement funding period is July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2018. We receive the highest amount of reimbursement available because we provide multi-grain products and low-fat milk. The amount of reimbursement that we'll get during this period is unknown because it's dependent on how many meals and snacks that we provide. Last year, we received $281,724 in meal reimbursement for the population I identified.
Okay. Commissioner Taub had a question?
I do. Why isn't Mandy's place included in this?
We get a second meal reimbursement program through the same funding source, and that is exclusively for Mandy's Place. And I'll be bringing that through the next round of committee meetings.
I'm just curious as to why the separation?
Because that qualifies as a shelter, and we receive breakfast, lunch, and dinner for Mandy's Place.
Okay.
This one, we receive breakfast, lunch, and an after-school snack. The way they set up, it comes out about the same. The reimbursement per meal is probably, or per program is probably a little bit higher for Mandy's Place because we receive it also for
But
dinner.
everyone wants to be on it.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, any other questions? All right, seeing none, we'll do roll call on the resolution as presented. That's what it's him.
Kowal,
Yes.
Woodward,
Yes.
Quarles,
Yes.
Fleming,
Yes.
Gershenson,
Yes.
Taub,
Yes,
Hoffman,
Yes.
Long.
Yes,
Motion
thank you. Next item is Board of Commissioners, appointment to the Board of County Canvassers. And that is the, we need a motion for that. moved by Commissioner Woodward, supported by Commissioner Colwell. Okay, those are the 3 names. I think both parties gave 3 names, correct? And then we forward those names to the board, and then we vote at our board meeting, correct? Isn't that what we always do? Any discussion on that? So I'm sure that will be on our next board meeting where we get don't we get a piece of paper? We get a piece of paper. Click that and then, click that and then go to the letters. There's just 2 letters. The names aren't just, it's a letter from the chair of the Republican Party and the chair of the Democrat Party.
They have to
Right.
submit 3 names.
3 names, and then we vote on the next board meeting. I think via
Madam
paper.
Chair?
Yes.
Do we know who's already sitting in those seats?
Yeah, here's a sheet, I think on the side.
It's on one of our sheets.
It's on one of the sheets, right here.
Yeah, basically, both people,
Wilma is, and then,
and Gloria.
Oh,
yes.
okay, I thought Gloria Span was on there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, and they both want reappointed. And then I guess it's up to us to vote at the board floor. Any questions? All right, we'll do a roll call on those names to forward to the board. Recommend them to the Board of Commissioners, yep.
Do we need to recommend of the 3, or
No.
let people figure it out?
I think you can say, when we go, I think
Okay.
yeah, I don't think we do that. I think we forward all 3 names and we vote.
Got it.
And then the party tells, like what their number 1, 2, what? Yes,
Okay.
yep. We had a motion, yep, so so we'll forward 3 names from the Republican Party and we'll forward the 3 names from the Democrat to the Board of Commissioners. That's the motion. Okay.
Woodward,
Yes.
Quarles,
Yes.
Fleming,
Yes.
Gershenson, Taub,
Yes.
Hoffman,
Yes.
Colwell, Long.
Yes. Okay, and then the next item is the Board of Commissioners, Solid Waste Planning Committee appointments. And all of them are up. Commissioner Hoffman serves as our county government. And they haven't met, but I think they're planning on their, we say this every time, but everyone wants reappointed. I think we've said this the whole time. Oh, no, one doesn't? Oh, no, so it doesn't?
So we have.
I know this one's different.
I got a phone call from Sanford Rosen. He said he would prefer not to be reappointed.
Okay. All right, get your sheet. There is a sheet on the side on this. Okay, you got it,
So
okay.
he's under the solid waste industry.
All right, so we'll need someone for that then, from the,
Can't bring it up on our computer.
I don't know, just use the sheet of paper on this one, because she has a nice sheet of paper here. Yeah.
Yeah, but otherwise I printed it for you.
All right, so anyone, so we need someone from the solid waste industry, we'll need one, so we have 1 open spot there,
Right.
open position.
Ann Vara, her seat will need to be filled. She did send a recommendation.
Oh, where's Ann?
She's under environmental interest groups.
Oh, okay,
She's now with the Water Resources.
oh yeah, that's true,
So that seat needs to be filled. She did send a recommendation.
okay. That's open position, so we can post those 2
Where's that one at?
above
Yes.
Republic, he's okay.
Yep, so he wanted,
All right, so go
reappointment.
through them maybe, okay, so on the solid waste, John Myers wants reappointed.
Correct.
Mike, how do you say, Sapo, I think.
Sapo.
I think the C's in
Yep.
it.
He
Sapo
wants
wants reappointed. Kevin Kendall wants reappointed.
Yep.
And then Sanford, Rosin does not, or Rosen, I
Correct.
think it's Rosin. Is it Rosin? Yeah, so that'll be open. So in the environmental interest groups, Jean, Grumlich would like reappointed.
Right.
And
And
Vara
Vara.
cannot, right?
Right.
Okay,
So
that's an
that-
open position, environmental interest group. Yes.
I'm concerned because I don't know if all these people live in Oakland County. Okay, Jean Bramlich lives in Fenton, which is in a different county. I don't know what the requirements are of this group, but.
Oh, Northville too.
I would prefer to have,
Right, no.
Mike and I looked that one up, and I believe her
She might have an
particular
address.
is in Oakland County.
Yeah, I think yeah. I mean, Fenton can be an address that you live in.
well, I think we should check.
I did. Michael and I did check on that.
I mean, because you have your other solid waste industries from Fenton too. And that's just who they're appointing to it.
Who's that?
Your solid waste industries, Mike Sapo's from Fenton, that's his home address, but I'm sure his business is in Oakland,
Well, we should check.
Okay.
I think if we if we have choices, I think we should have somebody from
But
Oakland
he's
County.
appointed by another agency
Right, right.
to represent
I-
them.
That group,
I understand
that one,
that.
she's saying, yeah.
Okay, whatever,
It would
that's
be
fine.
nice.
All right, we won't
Yes,
move these
agency.
forward today, we'll just do discussion today, because then we have a couple open. And then, county government, Commissioner Hoffman, would you still like on that?
Your trash is my bread and butter.
Okay, that's a good answer, I'm taking that as a yes. And township government, did Robert DePalma say yes?
Yes.
Okay, and then, Amy Magus, leader, of SEMCOG.
She is no longer with SEMCOG,
Yeah.
so she,
You're kidding, I just met with her.
Yeah.
she sent,
Wasn't she here for that presentation, was that Amy, or no?
She's gone?
that's a message I received this morning, and so she
Wow.
had recommended somebody else from SEMCOG to take her place.
Sure.
Okay, so we'll put that recommendation forward. We're not gonna vote on this today then.
Right.
So we'll put that recommendation, because that's a recommendation too from SEMCOG. All right, so then how about Ed Mamu?
Yes, he does want reappointment.
Okay, from Royal Oak. And then, all right, so there is one problem. So on general public, Steve Percival ran for what, Clarkston?
He's the mayor.
Mayor of Clarkston. So he wants on it still. So he wants to bump up and take Claire's spot in city government, because she is no longer there.
She's no longer in city government.
And she wants to go down to general public, which I don't have a problem with it, you know. Those two want to do a swap.
Yeah.
And then we still have Mary Ann Ryan. Does she want to be
She
appointed?
does,
So we'll have to get a sheets. And then Chester.
yes.
Okay. So we'll have, to sum up after that confusion, we will have Sanford Rosin from the solid waste industry, open position, right? And then we'll have environmental interest group, Ann Varro,
Correct.
and where else now?
Amy.
Amy from SEMCOG will need a recommendation.
So,
And then you want to see to make sure the Fenton on the environmental interest group, right? The Fenton address.
That does
Now-
fall within Oakland County.
I think so
That
too.
one could actually be, it might be just Fenton mailing. It's a Tipsico Lake Road, there's a good chance of that.
Tipsico
They-
Lake is Oakland County.
They checked it.
Right.
They already
Check
checked it.
that one.
They checked already.
Oh, you checked that one and that's,
I put that address in, and it does fall within Oakland County.
okay.
Oh, okay.
The address that's.
Oh, I see what you're saying, because
So-
it's a mailing address and it
And I-
recognized Fenton
and I
was
can
a
speak-
Fenton
I know
mail.
Gene directly. I guess maybe since these are environmental interest groups, like, has someone talked, I mean, I'm gonna make the assumption, 'cause I know she's still involved, that this is like Sierra Club wants her to be there.
yeah, but I think as long as she lives in Oakland.
I mean, because, I mean,
I contacted Jean herself, not Sierra Club,
Oh,
and asked if she wanted reappointed. She did not indicate anything about
Maybe.
Sierra Club, but I.
I mean, that they're here.
'Cause that's
These
their
are- These are
appointment.
the interest groups. I'm just saying,
Right.
I mean, I know Gene's still very involved with Sierra Club. I would be shocked otherwise, but I just think, I mean, also protocol. So if Ann has a recommendation, then
Ann has
we
a
should,
yeah.
we should definitely check with whatever the group that person's affiliated with.
oh,
To make
okay.
certain that-
And see if they would recommend, okay, so we could. So whatever,
My
when
guess is
Ann's
that she's
open
probably
position.
recommending the person who took her place with the Huron Valley watershed.
Okay, so what he's
I have
saying
a
is for,
name.
right, and then see what group is represented, maybe
interest
do a
group
quick
would-
call and see if they would agree with that recommendation. That's not a bad idea. And then so with, maybe just contact Sierra Club and just see if, Jean's still active, and then that they would recommend her to continue. Is that what you wanted to do?
Yeah,
Okay.
no, I just think that, I mean, these are.
All right, so we're not doing any, this was for discussion today then, I think, because we got
Well, I
too
guess, I
many
mean, the other
circles.
thing with Great Lakes Recycling, just given their size
Right,
and recent controversy,
oh yeah,
I think maybe we should just like reach out to the CEO of Great Lakes Recycling and I think ask for a preference of an Oakland County person that will sit on this with us.
or also we can get, well, what other recycling? We only have waste management, is there another one? We don't have to go in with the Great Lakes Recycling. What
Oh, well,
other
I
one?
mean, the fact
You
that
know?
they're so big, I mean, I
Right.
think having their perspective, I think is actually helpful, but,
Okay.
what's the outfit in Troy?
Tringali.
Tringali is another, I guess.
So there's few. All right, so we could contact Great Lakes Recycling and ask them for
And
a
they might not
recommendation
want
if
to.
they're,
I mean,
and they
they-
may not want,
okay.
they might want off,
And then I
right?
think then Tringali is a great,
Right, and then there's, we got Waste Man, yeah, Republic.
he's great. I mean, I've never laughed so much talking about trash. the owner of Tringali.
Okay, got it?
No, I would like clarification. You'd like me to contact?
No, I just like he gets so excited
Great
talking
Lakes
about like
Recycling.
Yeah, see if they have
the
a
trash
recommendation.
Okay.
stream.
And if they still want a appointed person on there.
Okay,
If not, they're saying the one out of Troy may have a,
so contact Tringali.
So instead of,
No,
no,
instead of Ed.
I think you can just contact Great Lakes.
well, so this is the way, I mean, so,
Yeah.
I mean, Ed is tied to Great Lakes, too. So, I mean, so to get other voices, I don't have a strong preference. I mean, I don't even know what Sanford's position with Great Lakes is. If there's is Great Lakes saying like, yeah, we want to kind of.
Right.
No, it was Mr. Rosen that contacted me, because I contacted him, would you like reappointed?
Okay.
So he said he personally was not interested. He didn't speak on behalf of Great Lakes Recycling. He
Okay,
spoke
but
on behalf of himself.
But he's there because of Great Lakes, right?
Correct.
All
Right.
Got it. Okay.
Okay, so just see if they have a recommendation, and you could also call the one in Troy if you want to. Commissioner Hoffman.
Yeah, and although we don't meet much as a group, I have to tell you, that's a great group of people, great cross-section of every interest there is. It's really a good group. And
You're gonna meet someday for every day a week. You're gonna.
Well, we did that, but you guys told me last time we don't meet.
I know.
Met every
You brought him good
couple
luck.
weeks for-
You brought him good luck.
If that's what you want to call it.
Okay.
So, then I'm gonna contact Sierra Club, Great Lakes Recycling, and Tringali.
Yes, I think so. Right?
And then,
And then we
whoever,
should-
I guess, in whatever the group that Ann is.
Yes, we probably should see what group.
Because
her-
that's supposed to be an environmental interest group too.
See what her recommendation, what
Right.
group it comes out of, and then maybe call and say, would they recommend that person? Correct.
And there's other watershed. I mean, she was there as a appointee
Watershed.
of
Clinton River.
the Clinton
Okay.
watershed.
Okay.
And her recommendation is also from the Clinton River watershed.
Okay.
There we go.
All right. Okay, got it. Any other? All right, so we'll just, that was discussion, so I don't know if we need, do we want to receive and file this? I don't know. Maybe.
This is. It's just.
No information? Okay, we all got it. Okay, all right. And the next item is the Michigan Clean Water Corps, M-Corps presentation. So, welcome.
Can I
Yes.
introduce them down there? Or not?
Yes.
Come on down, everybody.
We have a variety of materials. Should we pass those out now?
Yeah. Oh, actually, if you skim here, Chris can help. Let's pass them out. Michael can help
Did you
pass
get
them
it?
out.
Just make sure.
Wow,
you like
we got lots of people helping.
That might be a good idea. They might
Here,
need
did
to,
you get
you know,
it?
sorry.
Get the front of the line.
Okay.
And then from there, you'll.
Yeah, yeah. Because we might have to post it, right? Thank you. Might have to post. Yeah. Yes, yes. Yeah, so it'll be on the record. Thank you. All right.
You ready? All right. Well, Madam Chair and fellow colleagues, I'm really excited. I mean, through our budget process, this conversation came up, this idea came up, and I mean, I opted not to resolve it in the budget process, but rather bring it back to the appropriate liaison committee to talk about this. And so I'm going to let these fantastic individuals who have the expertise and experience to talk about what I think is frankly an incredible program that's really dedicated on monitoring and protecting our water quality in our lakes across the state, and specifically we're going to be looking at Oakland County. Paul Steen, who's I've had an opportunity to talk with him, is going to go into a little more detail about the program because I think most people didn't really understand what the program was or how it intersects with state agencies. And we have one of the illustrious volunteers that's been on the front lines of doing this. So I think we've got all sorts of perspective, and I'm going to hand it over to Paul to introduce your guests and everything. But I want to thank the committee's indulgence to learn more about this, with the hope that we can figure out a way to how do we grow a partnership to support and expand our partnership with, I think, a program that's doing incredible work.
Thank you very much. Yes, my name is Paul Steen. I work with the Huron River Watershed Council. I've been program manager of this particular lakes monitoring program for 10 years now. We are contracted, my organization is contracted to run this through the Department of Environmental Quality. So this is actually a Michigan program. To my right, this is Marcy Noel-Wilms. She is a biologist with the Department of Environmental Quality. She's our main contact with running this program through the Department of Environmental Quality. To my left, here's Ken Gill. He's been doing monitoring for 8 years, 10 years?
11.
11, longer than me. So this is a very long-lived program. And you know, Minnesota brags that it's the land of 10,000 lakes, but Michigan has 11,000, so we actually beat them out. And if you refer to that map that's in the brochure that we handed out, Oakland County has 560-ish lakes. So Oakland County really is one of the epicenters of Michigan lakes. Anyway, so that's just a little introduction. Now let me tell you about what this program is. It's the Cooperative Lakes Monitoring Program. It's been operating since 1974 through the Department of Environmental Quality. This is the second longest lived volunteer monitoring program in the country. Wisconsin, I believe, beat us out by about 1 year. 250 lakes enroll into this program across Michigan every year, approximately. This past year, 14 of those lakes were from Oakland County. So residents often associated with lake associations or lake boards opt into the program. They have to pay a small registration fee. They have to pay for their equipment. We give them training, and then they're up and running to do the lake monitoring on their lakes. So we're kind of proposing a different model with this resolution, and we'll talk about that. Some of our partners, so DEQ heads this up. The Great Lakes Commission is the primary contractor. The Huron River Watershed Council works on this myself. Michigan State University is our technical expert. And then the Michigan Lakes and Streams Association is our primary contact with all the residents across the state, helping them out, getting them enrolled, and getting them the equipment. So the way it typically works is one resident on the lake is the primary volunteer. Like Ken, for example, is our primary volunteer on Deer Lake. They will often recruit 1 to 5 other people to help them. So you might have up to 5, 6, sometimes up to 10 people on a particular lake doing the water quality monitoring. They often do that on behalf of the Lake Association. So the Lake Association's fully aware of what they're doing, and the volunteers work in partnership with the Lake Associations to get the monitoring done. The money that the county could provide through this resolution would fund about 100 lakes being enrolled into the program. Given that we have 250 lakes enrolled across statewide, this would greatly increase the breadth of the data collected. That money would provide for the equipment needed for each of these lakes to do their monitoring. It would provide money for recruitment efforts. Probably doesn't surprise you that often the most difficult thing is just to find that volunteer, that resident on the lake who's willing to head this up. We would like to hire a summer intern who then goes out with the lake residents throughout the course of summer 2018. Making sure that they are comfortable out there doing their water quality measurements. We would, through this money, we would be funding a 1-day training for all of the lake residents to come to a single location and learn how to do this. We do this normally through the program statewide. And everyone across the state comes to a single location, central Michigan somewhere. With this money, we would be able to hold that centrally in Oakland County just for the residents that come in through this this program, so they don't have to travel halfway across the state to get their training. I see this as a great draw to get residents here interested. We have to lower the barriers to their entry. And then each lake would be provided an end-of-the-year report on their data. Now, this really begs, I know this is probably the first question anyone would ask is, how is the data used? What are the outcomes from monitoring a lake? I have 2 examples. The first is invasive species prevention. So if you've talked to anyone who lives on a lake, you have probably heard of problems with water milfoil, and the really bad one recently is starry stonewort, which is this plant that just carpets the bottom of a lake like a really thick rug. And when these plants take over a lake, they cost residents tens of thousands of dollars in chemical treatments every year just to make their lake usable. I've boated on these lakes before. You can't even drive your boat through them because your prop just gets all twisted up with the thick, heavy plants. So it essentially ruins a lake to have an invasive species take over. And I know in Oakland County, a lot of lakes here are dealing with starry stonewort in particular. So what this program does is it teaches the residents to recognize these plants, and we give them the protocol to go out and find them, sample in a scientific way so that they're most likely to detect them. And then if they find them early, they're able to do something about it. If you find these plants too late, it's because they've already taken over. So we're training people to get out there early before the plant is known, and in doing so, they're able to stop the plant growth before it really takes over, and that's when you actually can do something about it. Targeted chemical treatment or going out and just hand pulling the plants themselves can stop that takeover from happening in the first place. The other way this data is used is in consideration with harmful algae blooms. So we've all heard the problems recently in Lake Erie with harmful algae blooms. I think 2 summers ago they had to shut down water intake for Toledo because these harmful algae blooms are producing this nerve toxin called microcystin, which makes people very sick, kills pets. Through this program, we are monitoring for the warning signs of that. We are monitoring phosphorus levels, chlorophyll levels, dissolved oxygen, water transparency. That's the simplest way. And you track that over a long period of time and producing graphs and watch how those levels change over time. And if a lake is consistently pushing toward more phosphorus and more chlorophyll, you know that they are headed in that direction of having one of these harmful algae blooms. So that's another way that this data is used. That is definitely more of a long-term investment. You have to be able to collect enough data to see the trends in the lake. And then there's just the people aspect of this. I see over and over again that the volunteers who engage in this program become water champions in their communities. They tend to get more involved in their local communities. They are more apt to attend like planning commission meetings. They're more apt to connect with their neighbors and providing education materials and telling their neighbors, hey, this is what I have found about our lake and what can we do together to improve the lake quality. And Ken actually is one of those people. He's been doing this 11 years. He's very active in his local community, and I was going to turn it over to him to talk for a few minutes about some of the things he's learned.
Morning. Morning. I'm not used to this kind of technology. Madam Chair, could you bring your gavel over to our board meetings and beat up our chair?
Maybe, that might be something you might be asking the right person. No, I'm just kidding.
We lack Robert's rules, let me tell you. Real quick, I've got a couple of minutes, just a couple of minutes, so.
Sure.
But if you look at your third page of the handout, there's a 3-page handout, you'll see a picture that looks similar to this. Okay, this is a Riparian magazine. Has anybody ever seen it, or?
I passed them out to the commissioners.
The actual magazine?
Mm-hmm. Oh, no, is that Deer?
Oh,
No, the right.
this is
Cover the magazine.
what you have in
Yes.
the picture. Yes, ma'am. Okay, got it. You've got them before? It's 50 years old. They've been publishing in Michigan, 50 years old. This Deer Lake was represented in the summer of 2014. Just real quick, just for a reference, because I'm going to give you some numbers, and they're just numbers unless you can kind of relate. Here's I-75, if you got your picture. Here's Dixie Highway. White Lake Road, M15. So we're right in the middle of a lot of activity there. So just a reference, so when we talk about this. Now, I don't want to drill down and bore you with this data. You probably looked at that sheet and went, oh my God. But here, basically I can tell you this. If you just take a look at the charts and kind of latch on to 2013, if you can kind of pick up 2013, there's several boxes with 2013 there. We did a study of all the 250 lakes that were being monitored in 2013. We compared this particular lake in Oakland County. And out of 201 lakes that were participated in Paul's phosphorus program, no one scored better. A lot of them scored the same because there's a actual benchmark. Out of chlorophyll, one lake, there was 151 chlorophyll participants in that activity, and one scored better in Cass County. So this is a really, really, one of our really nice lakes. We have tons of them in Oakland County. A lot of people don't realize it because nobody knows about them. So, so just keeping that in mind, we have a really nice lake, and we've been tracking this for a decade, and so it's benchmarked. This is data. These are data. You show it to a civil engineer and say. Now, the thing we're worried about, first of all, every one of these categories that are on that list have been improving for the last 8 years, except clarity. So if we're the best, we were one of the best in 2013, and we continue to improve on chlorophyll and phosphorus and dissolved oxygen. I forgot to mention it. Dissolved oxygen is where the fish kind of hang out, and there's an area there that shows dissolved oxygen. What you want for a lake to do is hold that oxygen for the whole summer period, and this lake does. So that's, many of our lakes do, some of them don't. So I want to now, as I lost my total train of thought, go to that picture that you see that has some sections. I just kind of explain these sections to you. If you lived on Deer Lake and I said section 10 has 2 invasive species, you could look at that and you could figure out, is your house in section 10? And we do have 2 invasive species in section 10. It's an inlet from the Clinton River watershed. We're monitoring that now. We're actually taking data on that just to see if it's of any value. We're working with Clinton River watershed. I also can say in section 13 we have 2 invasives, and the one we're really concerned about is starry stonewort. Paul mentioned that one. That is an aggressive weed, and we treat that. So we've been treating it for the last 4 years, and so this is how we basically use the data. If you look at that scale, that part of the programs, there's many programs that Paul's group and Marcy's group provide, and this was Score the Shore. This was Score the Shore, taking our shoreline, and I think 30 lakes are participating in it now, thereabouts. And so Oakland County, Deer Lake is rated in the tops in that area as well. So you can see. So what I really, is there any questions I can answer, or, yes, sir?
Commissioner Fleming.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Talk about transparency. That's what when I go to a lake, how deep can I see? You're saying that's not improving. What can you do to impact transparency?
Excellent question. Wish Mr. Nash was here.
I can take it if you don't want to.
Let Paul take it.
Sure.
Yeah, so I mean, that transparency is the character that people notice, without a doubt. Algae growth is probably the #1 impact on that, and algae growth is impacted by the amount of nutrients coming in off of the land that drain into the lake. So, getting nutrient levels down is a challenge for an individual lake. You have to work with the residents to make sure they're not dumping phosphorus-based fertilizer on. You have to work with upstream people. If you're on a lake with an inlet, you might have agricultural fields, and you might have to go up and talk to the farming community. So it's always a challenge to improve the transparency in the lake. But the good thing about this program is it gives you the data to at least start that discussion. You know, if you don't have that information, you're just going off of collective memory. Is our lake better or worse than it was 5 years ago? You know, if you don't have the data, there's really no discussion to be had. So this program starts people on that.
Just, sorry.
Oh, do you have a question?
Well,
Commissioner
I just
Gershenson.
wanted to see from the DEQ's perspective that you've considered this a valuable program.
Absolutely. You know, the DEQ values this program, wanting to get this started because, you know, we have biologists that go out and sample lakes and streams throughout the state, but we just don't have the manpower. We're not able to go and see all the streams and lakes throughout the state. And a lot of lakes are private, so access to those lakes is impeded. So this is an opportunity to see what's going on throughout the state, target some areas that may need some help with invasive species or with nutrient levels. And we have a panel of biologists, ecologists, and so forth that can, you know, help the volunteers interact with them, answer their questions, and it's really a positive experience for all the different groups that are involved.
Thank you.
Okay, I have Commissioner Kowal, then Commissioner Taub.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I represent the 6th district in the county. It's White Lake and a real good chunk of water for the Northwest. I think I'm probably on 11 lake improvement boards. And one of the lakes, and like 2 of them actually that have lake improvement boards, White Lake and Pontiac, are apparently already doing this at their own behest. Oxbow Lake doesn't have a lake improvement board as of yet, but I guess I kind of have a lot of issues about doing this. You know, I think it's a good thing, but if some people are already doing it at their own behest, would perhaps getting word out a little bit more prompt people to want to get involved with this program. Let me see. Also, what does MSU Extension offer anything? And then I have a whole issue, of course, with the DNR, and I know that the water belongs to everybody in the state, but they just enlarged the boat ramp access on White Lake, and they're putting more boats in all the time, and then they don't pay a damn thing towards keeping the lake quality up. And so I have to think about what other resources we have to accomplish these means, and other things that we need to emphasize too is like we keep a boat on White Lake at a marina. We don't live on the lake, but you drive around, you go around the lake, and all these lawns that come right up to the lake and everything.
Right.
Years ago, I did a you know, through MSU, like a class on how to landscape lakes. So I think that's something that we need to stress as well, because I think it's really stupid to be paying all this money to get rid of weeds, and then you're feeding the weeds. So I guess I'm kind of rambling here, but I'd like to know, first of all, you talk about, you know, the equipment and the training. Could you give me an idea of how much that costs per person? And then if one person is trained, can they then turn around and does everybody have to come to this, or can the one person turn around and train other people?
Sure.
As to what to look for?
Okay, so there's a really strong emphasis on data quality. So because of that, everyone has to be trained through the central organization. We don't want the processes to be diluted over time as it travels from one volunteer to another to another. So in regards to that specific question that you asked, everyone does have to be trained by the professionals who lead the program. As for some of the other things you said, I mean, I agree with you without a doubt that lake residents are full of internal contradictions with themselves. They want clean lakes, but they also want that beautiful lawn. And it's frustrating to just see that over and over and over again. No matter where you go in the state, you have that issue. And one of the good things about this program is that it creates this center person at the lake who is there, and he or she is one of the residents and is there to talk to people about the consequences of their actions. And I suppose winning people over is just trying to get that message out over and over and over again. In terms of why would the county sponsor this program? It seems like there's already lakes involved, and why would the county get involved directly? The program's been going since 1974. There's 11,000 lakes in the program in Michigan. We only have 250 lakes in the program. We do our best to win people over, and we do plenty. I feel like we do plenty of outreach, and I honestly scratch my head why more lakes aren't involved by their own interest. And but so whatever we can do to lower that barrier and get people interested in us, I think would be beneficial. So I don't have a great answer to what you're saying, except that the more support that we can get, the more we can do to lower barriers to get people interested would help. And this money would certainly allow for a concentration in Oakland County to make this happen. No other county has done this in Michigan. I think it could be really interesting if you were the first to see what a difference it could make.
And Madam Chair, I think the other thing, just to jump into that, is that, I think there's like two, your question brings up two questions. Like, one, is it that people on lakes aren't interested? Or two, is there barriers for participation? And because there is interest, and because of the success of where these programs, where it's been successful, what this would allow, and I should say that when we've been talking about it, thinking it is more of a per lake fee. $500 per lake that would support the recruitment, training, support, and at the Oakland County centric located training to be able to help volunteers, so they're not having to drive across state, what have you, for participation in this program. If there is no interest, we won't spend any money. But my sense is that if we create the opportunity for people, market it, there's a way to really expand, to invest in our communities, invest in people who are, really committed to their lakes, in a way that we can look comparatively across the county, the region, the state, what have you, and take advantage for all the things that Paul laid out, that gathering that baseline data to identify problems long time in the future.
Commissioner Kowal.
Thank you. You mentioned $500 per lake or whatever, which would seem that you have itty-bitty lakes and big lakes, but is there an idea how much it costs for equipment and
sure.
training?
Yeah, I can.
Per one volunteer.
Sure. So it's lakes register per lake, so it wouldn't necessarily be one volunteer, but it could be up to 5. So per lake, it costs $120 to enroll in the baseline parameters. People can get more advanced, but we're not proposing that for this. And then $50 for a SECI disc, so that's $170 for just getting the lake enrolled with the equipment. It's actually a really cheap amount because the DEQ underwrites the cost tremendously.
Exactly my questions. Just answered.
Yeah, that money, basically, that $120 for registration basically just pays for water bottles, paperwork, mailing costs, shipping costs, but like all the lab work, DEQ takes on the cost of that entirely by themselves.
Just to follow up, because that was going to be my question that Commissioner Kowal just asked about the fee, what the costs were. So then everything else, all your other, what other sources of funding do you have? DEQ takes over. Where else is money's coming from?
Currently, that's it. DEQ underwrites most of the costs of all the costs of the laboratory, and then the lakes that enroll pay a certain amount per parameter that they're going to participate in. We're going to kind of package it together for this.
So will they pay more than the $170 then? What is the parameter fee?
Right, $120 for participating in 4 parameters.
And then is there going to be another fee also?
Well, then the idea was that we were going to provide the centralized training, a point person that can go out as a summer intern. Those costs would increase per lake the cost to approximately $500.
So you're thinking,
500.
Right? So the 170 plus the 200 or 330.
$300,000.
330 comes to 500 about per lake. Is that where you get the 500?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm saying the 100, the 20, the 50, so 170, And then with that other,
No, that is 500.
right, and then 330, you're thinking for the training for that individuals, whether it's one person or 5. So 500, that's where you got your number from, Dave.
I think, yeah.
That's
so,
what I mean.
yeah.
Where'd you get that
So
number?
we're trying, well, because, I mean, we're kind of pioneering this and trying to
Okay.
accelerate participation. So thinking about this, if a lake says, and we got to have an individual that says, I want to be part of this, looking at $500 per lake, total. Like, that's it. That would support the training, the materials, the ongoing support to support lake participation per lake. Now, we're not, I mean, like, let's not be delusional. Every single lake body of water is not going to participate. But what this would allow for breaking down a major barrier and those who would participate. And like, you know, honestly, we got 30 more lakes to participate. 30 times 500, $15. Yay! If there's more, great. And that is what we've got kind of been looking at, trying to find a way per lake participation. And if that's not, again, if there is no interest, there's no reason to spend any resources to do something because there's nobody who's going to take the volunteer lead in their respective community to do it. So.
Okay, then I had, thank you, sorry, Commissioner Traub was next, but it was just so related to Commissioner Cole with the funding. I thought I better pop it in there. So Commissioner Traub.
Thank you for coming in. I have several questions. First of all, does the state pay for all public access lakes to make sure that they have this kind of, this type of monitoring?
No, so the state covers all the different parameters that Paul mentioned for this program, but a public lake would be registering just as a private lake would. So,
Yeah.
my understanding.
Well, there are no private lakes really because the state owns all the water. We understand that. So, my next question is this, and
Private entrances.
are you aware that there are other groups that are doing exactly the same work that you're doing?
Not in terms of the combination of things that we do in statewide. There's no other group that does that.
In Oakland County, there are other private groups that do the same type of water monitoring that you are doing. Are you aware of that?
What groups are those?
Great Lakes Water is one, I believe. There's several others. I would have to get the names for you.
So,
But
mhm.
let me just put it this way. We have something called lake boards. I don't know if you're familiar with them. And I sit on several as there's, I think 7 or 8, I can't remember the number, as Commissioner Colwell. And these groups all pay for their own water, clarity, taking care of their water, just as Deer Lake does, pays you. They have other organizations that do the same work. Most people living on lakes want it to be, you know, nice clean water, as does Deer Lake. I mean, you want to be able to fish, you want to be able to swim, to boat, and recreate. But above and beyond that, people realize that an icky, muddy, dirty, weedy lake lowers their property values, if nothing else. Okay, I'm not setting what you're doing to set that aside. So my question to you is, yeah, it's going to cost about $500, but there's an annual fee. This has to be done annually. Okay, so it's not just $500. There are annual fees that the lakes that I represent, the lake that I live on, we handle by ourselves. I'm rather reluctant to put forth county dollars when I truly believe there's another way to go about it. 2 things. One, I believe that we have we have policy in this county that says we do not give out a single source contract, ever. We're not supposed to. We're supposed to bid our contracts out. And besides your watershed, which is probably a very good group, and I'm not disagreeing with it, and I know the DEQ approves of your group, but I also know there are other groups that do the exact same work.
You're next, Marcia.
Because, and I know they do it just as well because the DEQ has to approve everything they do, all the permits and all the permitting and so on. So I am reluctant to go through with this. I don't believe that the county should be responsible for, if they are in fact private lakes, okay? I don't believe they are. I think the state has an obligation, but they're not going to fulfill their obligation. So consequently, I believe it's up to the homeowners around the lake to take care of their own lakes, and to take care of their property. In the township in which I live, we have an ordinance that prevents anybody from using fertilizer that isn't the proper kind of fertilizer. And so the people who come and fertilize in my township, okay, and mostly they have people fertilizing the lawns there, they don't use stuff that's gonna affect the lake, okay? So,
I
yeah.
live in the same county, Shelley, and that's not true.
Bloomfield Township has an ordinance about
I
what
live
type
in
of
the same
fertilizer.
township.
It is commercial. As to what kind of fertilizer you can use. So does West Bloomfield Township.
Not
as a matter of
everybody
fact.
follows.
Yeah.
the
Well,
rule.
then,
Okay.
if somebody doesn't follow the rule,
That's why
Okay.
we want education.
so, I believe
we
that
have one
on the
ordinance
lakes
too,
that I represent,
The
people
ordinance,
do follow
that
the
people
rules.
think if a little
Okay.
works, a little bit
So
more works better.
consequently, I think you're doing wonderful stuff, and I
That's what
think
the
it's
ordinance
great.
is.
But for the two reasons, one, I think it's up to the individual people on the lake,
Homeowners are
and
the
I
biggest
applaud the
problem.
people on Deer Lake. You
You know,
decided
that's
to
true.
do it yourself, you found a company to do it for you, which is good. I agree.
Company.
A good thing to do. But there are other companies that do the exact same
Okay,
work.
so,
Thank you.
yeah, Madam Chair, I
Yes.
gotta chime in. But first, I mean, a couple of things that were raised up that I take some exception with. Like, one, there is no other comparable organization. This is a statewide organization, direct partnership with the DEQ, of establishing a benchmark of which all this data is publicly available to the public. And as someone who lives in Royal Oak, we don't have a lake unless it rains really hard. Which is a whole nother problem. And I can say, I speak for myself, but I have a vested interest in the quality of water in all our lakes and doing things to do better. What this program allows for is the engagement of residents and volunteers who are deeply committed to water quality, not just those who live around the lake. I mean, people who are deeply committed to this in a way that's low cost, standardized, and universal, and leverages all the tools and resources. The other thing, to me, is it's hard to quantify what is the public value of the public education and all that other element that happens. It's hard to put a price tag on that. But the more people that are talking about that, I mean, we talked a little bit about fertilizer and all that type of stuff, say, listen, here's the data. This is why we need to do this, can help accelerate that. Because frankly, when people put fertilizer that live on the lake, on their side, I mean, it affects my water, my overall quality of water, the watersheds, the Great Lake, this is all connected. So, which is why I think that there's a way to do this. I wanted to speak on the sole source contract issue and everything, that we do have a mechanism for that. There is no other entity that's out there that that meets the scope and scale and duration of a program like this, and that's why we're bringing it forth. We are following our procedures directly, that bringing forth a proposal that outlines this, and we deliberate, does this make sense? Now, if there is another entity out there that someone wants to consider, I think it does bring into the conversation, but the reality that there isn't. Now, can people go out privately and hire operations left and right? Sure. Does the public get to benefit from all that? Well, I don't know where that data is. I can't see it. And then where does it stop? This is a universal program that's demonstrated not only duration, but also value in actually helping those who participate. And this is, I think there's, again, a low-cost way to really up the public participation, relying on volunteers, and investing in them to help be stewards of protecting our lakes, cleaning our lakes, and monitoring our lakes. And Ken had something he wanted to say too.
I probably did a poor job. Everything you said is true. There's a lot of things going on, but there's nothing consistent. There's nothing even close to being consistent. And I only do this from my perspective. I have so much respect for this organization. My background is IT and HR, and I can't believe what they pulled off. I really can't believe. For what, I don't know, since the 70s, they have been a state. Let me give you an example. When you look at a standard process and standard system collecting data that's shared by a state, and then you look at like Torch Lake. I'm sorry, we have PhDs, we collected this data, here you go, and we're going, sorry, you didn't follow our standards. There's very tight standards. I can't believe what these people have pulled off. And we pay for it. We volunteer. I go work my butt off, and I give them money, and I go pay for it. My hat's off. They won me over a long time ago. So just to be clear, this is not just willy-nilly. This is a solid, scientific, stakeholder type program that we're not leveraging very well. And with only, what, 14 lakes in Oakland County? White Lake was one, there was only, when we went to go for the Riparian magazine, we were talking to the editor, they were so happy to get something from Oakland County. They says, you own it, whatever you guys want, you know, we just had it. And White Lake was on this magazine probably about 5 years ago, and there was one other lake, and it was probably Lower Straits or something in the Bloomfield or whatever area, but there's only been like 3 recognized. I hope we did a really good job representing Oakland County. We went into the archives and we've got information from Henry Ford and his tractor proving ground coming down to the lake. We've got stuff like that. Enough. Okay. I really blew that.
Passionate. Doing a great job.
Okay. Commissioner Gershenson, I'll go back to you, Commissioner Taub. Commissioner Gershenson, then Hoffman, then Taub.
I just think this discussion could go on forever.
Sure.
And we just want to keep it really focused. I just want to say, Eileen, that MSU Extension does an amazing program about water barriers that you put up, and they are available, and we've been trying to promote that program in our communities. That's something we as commissioners can do. We can get the lakes in our district to have the MSU Extension program and all the programs. It's just not something we are very active in anymore. And this all happened because water quality has become such a huge issue. And our health department's doing a great job. It doesn't mean there's not room for more players as well. The primary focus is to put some of our money towards marketing and messaging so that the public does get it. We can use our social media, that we have such great social media at Oakland County, to promote some of these great techniques. Not all lakes have lake boards. I live on a lake. We do not have a lake board. We have several associations, and the associations are very active, and we could be reaching out to their associations. But not every lake wants a lake board. We live in the same county. My neighbors use phosphorus on their plants. They don't follow the ordinances. It's unrealistic to think that farmers and gardeners and everyone don't use phosphorus, which increases the bloom. Look at Quarton Lake in your district in Birmingham. It was shut down because you couldn't see the water, because there was so much algae. It was almost considered a dead lake. This is in one of the wealthiest communities in Oakland County. They did not take care of their lake. And the lake, there's tremendous fighting amongst riparian owners. It's not like all lake boards or associations function really well. I am on a lake board. I sit on Meadow Lake board, and there's terrible infighting about the people that want the chemicals, the people that don't want the chemicals. There's not a simple answer to that. This is just a program that could be beneficial. We'll see. We'll try it and we'll see. We're just asking for the opportunity to see if riparian owners, if lake dwellers or people that care about the water will find this important.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Hoffman has been waiting. He probably forgot what he was going to say.
I want to point out that I sit on 13 lake boards.
Oh, you win.
Also,
I think I'm only on 3.
People form a lake board because they realize they have problems.
Right.
That's why I think you guys do a great job.
No lake boards.
And I'm actually
I have a lot of
going to
lakes with no
forward
lake boards.
your information on all the lake boards I sit on.
Thank you.
Now, some of the lake boards I sit on, they actually contract with people that test water. So they do a lot of that. And I think the lake boards where you have a real active lake board is because they have more problems like Duck Lake. They have a problem with a lot of weeds, so they treat it, they harvest it, but they're also borrowing $200,000 or $300,000 to get rid of the muck. They're going to aerate a great percentage of that lake to improve it too. So they realize they have a problem. And I think what you guys add to it would be a great thing. But I will pass this information on to my lake board and see if there's any interest. But I think it really is like Commissioner Taub said, really up to a lot of the lakes to determine what their needs are and figure out what their baseline is. You could help with that.
Commissioner Taub?
Thank you. I just want to make sure that I understand what this is. The DEQ, are you out promoting this particular organization? Or is that your goal, to make sure they have all the business in Oakland County? Or are you, I mean.
This isn't a company.
I understand, but.
It's not a company.
The next, okay, my question is to the DEQ. They do works, they collect money, so they must have, maybe they're a 501c3, but they do collect money, so they have to be a company. Or are there other groups? In other words, my question to you, I guess I better phrase it differently. The DEQ must approve everyone who does lake work. They have to get permits. The permits, as I recall, are at least $1,000 a year, if not more. Am I correct?
There's all different sorts of different permits and different, so I guess it depends specifically what we're talking about.
Okay.
You know, for water quality testing, you know, we have some biologists that go out and test certain lakes on a rotating basis, but, you know, that doesn't even touch how many lakes that MyCorps can. And MyCorps is just, it's a name for the groups that are involved. So if you were to try and look for a MyCorps office, there's not one, because it involves several different organizations, like Paul mentioned. So, you know, the money that comes in from registration from lakes that are involved, that goes directly to the Michigan Lakes and Streams to support the people that work with the volunteers, as well as Michigan State University, who goes out and samples with the volunteers as well. So that money doesn't come back into the DEQ. The DEQ puts out a lot more money to help this program survive.
Okay, so when we buy, so what my question though is, there are a lot of organizations that you license to do this work. Is that correct?
I'm not involved with licensing, so I don't know the details of that.
So anybody can just walk out the door and say, I'm gonna clean up this lake? They have to get permits to do that. They have to get permits to apply chemicals. They have to get.
There is aquatic nuisance control permitting for people that treat lakes for invasive species, and that is a part of the DEQ, yes. I don't do that permitting, but they're
okay, that's what I'm talking about. Okay, now, again, back to my other question. The state of Michigan doesn't take care of the lakes that they insist we have public access on, such as Orchard Lake, Pine Lake, and Cass Lake.
Cass Lake, yeah.
Just
Cass
name
Lake's
a few.
a lot of dirty.
You don't, DEQ does not take care of public access lakes or DNR, do they?
I guess I'm not clear on what you're speaking
In other
about.
words, do you have a contract to do public access lakes?
Yeah, every lake is the same in the face of this program. I mean, I agree with the sentiment which you're sharing, which is the state doesn't do enough. It is public water. The state should do more. The state could do more on many things. I agree, but the unfortunate reality is that the state doesn't have the funds to do this, and it falls to the residents more often than it should. But that's the reality in which we live.
Okay, the organizations that I was speaking of do exactly what you do. They do the testing for the residents who pay for it privately. The fees vary anywhere from $300 or $150 a year up to about $1,500 a year, depending on what the lake board decides and what the lake residents decide they want to have done. And I commend you for what you're doing, and I don't disagree with this, and certainly we can all share your information to give another alternative to people. But I believe in my district, the lakes that I represent, they all have the water quality tested, and they all have lake boards or lake associations to do it. I would certainly not want anyone to. And Dave, you mentioned something about records being kept. We have records. We keep records on all lake boards in our community.
Okay, so what this today, this was for discussion, and then I think we will have Kathy, if you would do a presentation of what the health department, what their lake testing entails, the next GG meeting, and then we'll go on from this, see where we want to go from there. But this was very good discussion. And I think it was helpful to bring you in instead of having a pamphlet. You know, well, I mean, I think Marcia or Dave put them in the thing, and Eileen and I start reading them in the, so, you know, in the board meeting, we were looking at them and stuff, we just didn't know all about it, so it's much better to have it in person to see about it. And, right, and I think that's a good, what they said, they can certainly pass this, it seems like Eileen's, a couple of hers know about it, but, pass these along too. In the meantime, we could pass these along too. So, Kathy will put on the agenda just to say what Oakland County, what we're doing in Oakland County to test now, to get a review of that, and then we'll go on from there. So, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having us.
So we'll just need a motion to receive and file the information they gave. We'll need a motion. Moved by Commissioner Coyle, supported by Commissioner Quarles. And then all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, good. And then we just need a motion for the communications to receive and file. Okay, questions? We did a motion first. You want to do a motion? Moved by Commissioner Taub, supported by Fleming. Yes.
Okay, I looked over this list of attendance list.
Oh.
Where am I?
And B?
Yeah.
B?
And so I made some notes, which I have to find now, thank you. No. On the library board. And when I made my notes on the library board,
sheet of it.
I want to point out to this group that I missed 3 of the 4 meetings. The reason I did is that the librarian scheduled 1 meeting during MAP, 1 meeting during NACO, and a 3rd meeting during MAP. Okay? Obviously, I cannot do anything about this. But we can do something about it. So I'm going to ask this board,
I don't see that
since
one.
the library board is part, since the library board is,
Okay.
yeah, do you have it?
Yes.
Since the library board is our only department, that their calendar has to be approved by Chris Board or by this board.
Right, you
Because I don't
brought
think it's
that
fair.
up,
I
yeah.
know, but I just checked the dates. So in other words, she, the librarian, scheduled 3 of the 4 meetings.
On board or finance or something.
No.
Oh.
When we had MAP.
Oh, this
or
time.
NACO. And.
So you're saying your
and
attendance, if
even-
someone didn't look at it, it's bad,
even
but,
Even if I did not go to MAP or NACO, and even if it was somebody else on that board, they may be taking a vacation during that time that we don't meet. I mean, that's
Right.
their business.
so you want them to coordinate it with the
I want
Board
it
of
to be
Commissioners?
I want it to be
Okay,
approved.
and I think you brought that up in finance.
Good idea.
I did, yeah.
That is true, and actually, all the committees, when there's a, county board representative should go through
Yeah.
because
Whatever
your attendance is gonna reflect low. If you have a finance meeting or you have a library board, your obligation is to be at finance.
Exactly.
I mean,
Well, my obligation in the past year has been, obviously, as president of
Right,
MAP,
okay,
to be at MAP
good
meetings
point.
and NACO meetings.
All right, yeah, you brought that up in Chris, you got that, right, yeah. Just with any of our county appointments should go with go through our calendar, that is true.
If there's a
Right.
commissioner
Right.
statutorily on
Right.
board,
Right.
it should go through.
Definitely, because you have a bad lower
Yeah.
attendance,
Well,
okay,
you wanna represent the
Right.
board.
okay,
You're on that meeting.
okay. So you're excused for your bad attendance.
Well, so I'm making.
I'm gonna get her going now.
I'm gonna make a motion.
Okay, go ahead. Well, wait, let's do this first. Let's receive and file. Well, you want to put that on there? Okay, you want to put it, what should we do? She wants to make a motion. I guess we can.
You want to complete your file?
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, that's what I said. Complete this. All in favor, receive and file.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, now.
I'd like to make a motion that any board that a commissioner sits on
Statutory,
statutorily,
yeah.
that the calendar is submitted, the committee's calendar is submitted to Mr. Ward for final approval.
How about the administrative director? I might think of it at some point.
Administrative director, okay.
Okay.
No.
Yeah. All right, does everyone want to second that? Okay, Commissioner Gershenson seconds that. All right, so we'll do, it should already be happening, but since it's not, that's logical.
Yeah.
So, okay, do roll call on that then, because it is related to the
Fleming,
attendance.
Yes.
Gershenson. Yes. Taub,
Yes.
Hoffman,
Yes.
Kowal,
Yes.
Woodward, Quarles,
Yes.
Long.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, any other business? All right, seeing none, we're done. Here's my gavel, he wants to borrow it.
Yeah, really.
I know,